Last weekend, I stood on a roadside in St. Peters, Missouri, deep in Trump country, holding a sign that read, "We threw off government by king and church in 1776. Around me were neighbors, retirees, veterans, and young people, all united by a simple belief. America is worth fighting for. But we weren't just holding signs. We were holding the line against policies that fundamentally threaten the constitutional principles our founders died to establish. Today, I want to talk about what's actually happening. Not the spin, not the rhetoric, but the documented facts about how our system of checks and balances is being systematically dismantled. Let's start with the Supreme Court's immunity decision in Trump versus United States. For 248 years, no American president needed immunity from criminal prosecution for official acts. Washington, Lincoln, Roosevelt, Reagan, none of them require protection from the law because they understood they served under it, not above it. But in July 2024, a 6-3 Supreme Court with 3 Trump appointees created something our founders never intended: a president who cannot be held accountable for crimes committed while in office, as long as they can be classified as official acts. Think about what this means practically. A president could now order the military to intimidate political opponents, use federal agencies to target critics, or abuse the pardon power, all potentially shielded from prosecution. The court didn't just rule on Trump's case. They fundamentally altered the balance of power that protects all of us. This isn't partisan politics. It's constitutional crisis. When Alexander Hamilton wrote in Federalist 69 that the president would be liable to prosecution and punishment in the ordinary course of law, he was describing the America we're losing.
But the assault on accountability doesn't stop there. Buried in recent legislative proposals are provisions that would fundamentally change how our courts operate. One particularly troubling element would prevent courts from holding parties in contempt, a basic tool judges use to ensure compliance with court orders, unless the person challenging contempt puts up a substantial bond first. This isn't about reforming the system. It's about making it harder for courts to enforce their own orders. Why does this matter to you? When courts can't enforce their rulings, contract disputes go unresolved, domestic violence protective orders become meaningless, and corporate malfeasance goes unpunished. The rule of law only works when it can actually be enforced. Speaking of enforcement, let's talk about what's happening to due process. The constitutional guarantee that the government can't deprive you of life, liberty, or property without fair legal proceedings. We're seeing immigration enforcement that operates outside normal legal channels. People are being detained without proper hearings, some literally grabbed outside courthouses where they're attending citizenship proceedings. Let that sink in. Individuals following the legal process to become Americans are being arrested while trying to navigate that very system. This isn't just about immigration policy. When any government agency can bypass due process, all of our protections weaken. The Cuban-American Trump supporter who was deported despite his political allegiance learned this the hard way. Authoritarianism doesn't check voter registration before it strikes.
The Fifth and 14th Amendments guarantee due process to all persons, not just citizens. When we allow that principle to erode for anyone, we make it easier to erode for everyone.
There we go, thank you.
Now let's talk dollars and cents, because authoritarian policies always come with economic consequences for working families. Take the promise of no tax on overtime. Sounds great, right? But read the fine print. It only applies to people making under $100,000 annually. That excludes most skilled tradespeople, experienced nurses, many teachers, and countless other middle-class workers who actually work overtime regularly. Meanwhile, the same proposals maintain substantial tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans, people who don't work overtime because they employ others to do it. The promised elimination of taxes on tips? That's nowhere to be found in the actual legislative proposals. But cuts to Social Security, Medicare, and veterans benefits? Those are detailed extensively. This is the classic authoritarian playbook: promise economic relief to working people while actually delivering it to the wealthy. Then blame scapegoats when working families don't see improvement.
Here's what you can do. Contact your representatives, not just federal, but state and local. Ask them specifically about their position on presidential immunity, judicial independence, and due process protections. Don't let them give you talking points. Demand clear answers about constitutional principles. Support organizations defending voting rights, judicial independence, and constitutional protections. Democracy isn't a spectator sport. Most importantly, talk to your neighbors. Not to change their vote, but to remind them what we all have in common. We all want safe communities, economic opportunity, and protection from government overreach. We all want our children to inherit a country where the law applies equally to everyone.
Show me what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.
The 80-year-old man holding the hands off our healthcare sign wasn't there because he's a radical. He was there because he's an American who understands that rights undefended are rights lost.
We threw off government by king and church in 1776, not because we hated authority, but because we believe in a different kind of authority, the authority of law applied equally with the consent of the governed. That's still worth defending. That's still worth a Saturday afternoon on a roadside in Missouri. That's still worth everything.
Before we hear from the people who stood with us that day, let's be clear about something. What we're witnessing is not normal governance. It's not typical political disagreement. It's a systematic departure from how America has operated for nearly 2.5 centuries.
Consider the documented pattern. In 2018, Trump withdrew the United States from the Iran nuclear deal, a multilateral agreement that had verifiably limited Iran's nuclear program. European allies begged us to stay. Intelligence agencies confirmed Iran was complying. We left anyway. The result? Iran resumed uranium enrichment and is now closer to nuclear capability than ever before. We didn't just abandon a working agreement. We handed Iran a strategic victory while isolating ourselves from key allies. Meanwhile, Trump repeatedly praised Vladimir Putin, even taking Putin's word over our own intelligence agencies regarding Russian election interference. At the Helsinki summit in 2018, standing next to Putin, Trump publicly contradicted U.S. intelligence findings. This wasn't diplomacy, it was subordination. The pattern continues with North Korea. After unprecedented summits and claims of friendship with Kim Jong-un, North Korea's nuclear program expanded. They now have more nuclear weapons and better delivery systems than when Trump took office. The pageantry achieved nothing except legitimizing a brutal dictator.
The assault on America's strength isn't limited to foreign policy. Our democratic institutions, the foundations of American power, are under systematic attack. Trump fired FBI Director James Comey for investigating Russian interference, then admitted on television that he did it because of the Russia thing. He pressured the Justice Department to investigate political opponents. He asked Ukraine to investigate the Biden family while withholding military aid. These aren't allegations. These are documented actions that undermine the rule of law. When justice becomes partisan, America becomes weaker. When law enforcement serves political interests rather than the law, we're no longer a nation of laws. The January 6th attack on the Capitol wasn't just about one election. It was an attack on the peaceful transfer of power that has defined American democracy since 1797. When Trump told supporters to fight like hell, and then watched the Capitol under siege for hours before calling them off, he broke the most sacred norm of American governance.
Here's what actual patriots understand. America's greatest strength has never been our military might alone. It's been our example of functioning democracy, respect for law, peaceful transitions of power, and leadership among free nations. Every norm broken, every alliance strained, every law ignored makes America weaker and our enemies stronger. Putin doesn't need to defeat America militarily when we're defeating ourselves politically. The people you're about to hear from understand this. They stood on that roadside not because they're radicals, but because they're Americans who recognize that patriotism means defending democracy, not just wearing flag pins.
Hi.
Hey, so why are you out here today?
I'm out here because it's something that I can do to forward the movement toward a better and just society, which is we're losing a grip on every day right now. So just one piece of that is that the people out here, it's nice to be with people of the same mind, and we're chatting and getting to know each other, and that's a lot of fun.
It is.
Yeah, but I really believe that if we can get critical mass of people who come out and protest, we are going to effect some change at some point in time.
Awesome. And if you had a chance to have a civil conversation with a Trump supporter, what piece of information would you like them to know?
I'd love to have a civil conversation with a Trump supporter. First of all, I would like to listen to them and ask them, why they support him, and what are the issues here. I suspect I know some of the issues. The immigration issue, and I'm going to be the first to admit that it wasn't handled very well in the first administration. So that's certainly something that can be improved. However, I don't support being cruel to people.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cruelty that is going on, and this poor guy down in El Salvador who didn't even belong being sent there, and the fact that they won't bring him back, that's cruel and unjust. It's not even moral. But be that as it may, somebody else, certainly the abortion issue, and I understand that one completely. I'm not totally on the liberal fence on that either, but I do support people having the right to make their own decisions.
Awesome.
Other than that, I think I would just like to listen, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Not everybody who supports Trump is, a dimwit by a long shot. So there's some very smart people, and I get it from the people are concerned about the economics, and things weren't really great. Economically, but however, they were much better and much improved during Biden's term. And I think if the Democrats had had another 4 years, we might have seen some improvement, and we certainly wouldn't have seen the mass chaos that we have now, and all the firings of our civil servants, and the decrease of our status throughout the world.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. All right. So why are you out here today?
I think our democracy is under threat. We got a massive income inequality. We got billionaires that are running things. It's just been really, they're really coming after our government. They're coming after normal people and our money. It's basically a big heist to me.
Yep. And if you had a chance to have a civil conversation with a Trump supporter, what would you want them to know?
I think they all, everybody, we all love our country. I just like to let them know that, what they're doing is not making our country stronger, it's making them weaker. For example, running off foreign students and going after universities. I mean, that's basically killing off the goose that has laid the golden eggs for this country. And we're just basically giving it away for other countries, for all this research, all this economic benefit. It's going to go to countries like China. It's going to go to Europe. It's going to go away from the United States.
Yeah, where China's actively inviting students to come.
Oh, sure, yeah,
and we're sending them away.
Yeah, they're no fools. They know what it takes to compete in today's economy. High tech.
Yep.
So,
all right. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Why are you out here today?
I think people need to raise their voices over what Trump is doing to the nation. He's basically turning people against people and taking everything for himself and his rich friends, and that's not right.
All right. And if you had a chance to have a civil conversation with a Trump supporter, what would you want them to know?
I think I'd want them to know what Trump has actually promised to them versus what Trump is actually going to deliver to them. I don't think they'd believe it. They have to see it, and I'm afraid if we keep going, they are going to see it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the only way they'll figure it out. But and I'm sure they say the same thing about us, but
yeah, I think we have evidence on our side. But
definitely.
And your shirt is awesome.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
Executive power without flaw. Checks and balances thrown away. Democracy dies another day. Jefferson's wall comes crashing down. Theocrats seize the